Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Pixel Distorts. In the last episode we had a brief introduction to the GIMP software. Today in second episode I think I'll extend that introduction to teach you something about layers. A layer is a component of an image. So I'll go ahead and create a transparent image to explain you the concept of a layer. Now as soon as I create an image, I get one layer. An image can consist of any number of layers, and this is the layers tab of GIMP, and here are few buttons, and this is the button to create a new layer. I'll create a white layer and I can assign a width of maybe 300, 200, and as I have explained in the first episode, image size, the dimensions of image are independent of the image size. So there you go, I have a white layer over there. I'll create a new black layer. So to create a new black layer, I set the foreground color to black, which is by default black as soon as I open GIMP. So I just set the foreground color in the layer fill type and give the dimensions. Here I'll give like 200, 180, click OK, and there you go, I have the second layer. I'll just use the move tool and move the second layer like that. Okay, using these two things, or maybe one more layer, I'm going to explain the concept of layers. So I'm going to set the foreground color to some green color. It's just your choice, it can be any color. I'm just using this to demonstrate the concept of layers, so you don't have to exactly follow me. And again, the dimensions are whatever comes in your mind. It's just your canvas here. It's your own canvas, you can do anything with this. So there you go, I have 3 layers over here, and as you can see, I have 4 layers. The first is the background of the image, which is set to transparent. The second layer is a white layer. The third layer is a black layer, and the fourth layer is a green layer. So if I count from the bottom, it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. But layers in GIMP are actually counted from the top. So this is the top layer. So if I move it over there, you can see it is on top of both white and black. That is because in this layers tab you have set it on the top. So if I bring it down like this, it becomes the second layer, and this black layer becomes the top layer. So the positioning of the layers within an image is dependent on the positioning of the layers within the layer tab. So this button is to create a new layer. These two buttons are used to move the layer, move the positions of the layer, and this button is used to duplicate a layer. Suppose I have this green layer over here. If I need a copy of this layer again, I'll just click on that layer and click on duplicate. It will create a copy of that layer. See, it has created a copy of this layer. So that is about this duplicate button. Anchor button, I'll come to that in a second. and there's the last button, delete button. It does what it tells. It deletes the layer. So in this row I haven't explained about this and this. So the first thing I'll explain is this grouping of layers into a folder. So as you can see, it's a folder icon, and folders contain files, but in GIMP this folder is a layers folder, and this folder is also called as a group, a layer group. So if I create a folder or a layer group, I have it right here. I can drag these into that can drag these into that layer group, so that becomes a layer group. So I can group it like these layers can like distinguish that these are one set and this is independent from the background, so I need it to be separate. So I can create a layer group and put those layers within this. So that is the concept of layer groups, and I can do certain operations on the layer group itself that affects all these three layers. So that is about layer group. So I'll just bring back my layers from the layer group and gonna delete the layer group because I won't be using the layer group. So that is about layer groups. And the last thing I'm gonna teach is about this anchors button, anchors. Okay, so how am I gonna do that? I'll just select this black layer. Yeah, there is one interesting thing you can see here. Although this background color is at the top, it is not covering it. It's not covering these layers. The reason is that it is filled with transparency. Even though this layer is at the top, it is filled with transparency, so you can just see through the layer. So this doesn't do much. It is just a dummy layer for the moment. And I have brought the black layer to the top again, and with this I'm going to explain the concept of anchoring. So I'll just right click on this layer, go to edit and copy this. Now select the white layer, go to edit and paste this. Now as you can see, you have the marching ants around this black. It is not yet pasted into this layer. That is because it became a floating selection. Now this is an interesting concept in GIMP. Floating selection, you can do two things with floating selections. One thing you can do is anchor it. Now when I click on the anchor button, it just merges the white layer with the black layer, as it is supposed to do when I just click on the paste button. But one smart thing what the GIMP developers have done is that they have given you the choice to confirm your selection, confirm your paste selection. You can either paste it into the layer, or you can create a new layer by clicking the new layer button. So that pasted layer is now a new layer. This is very useful in scenarios where you accidentally pasted a clipboard item into a layer and you cannot remove it. So in such cases, it goes to in GIMP the remedy they have found is to create a floating layer, and you can then safely confirm whether it needs to be merged with the bottom layer or created as a new layer. So that is about this button. So I think I have covered the layers tab. The next thing I'm gonna do is what can I do next? Yeah, I'll explain about these things, mode and opacity. Opacity is what I have explained earlier. You have an alpha channel, you do have an alpha channel over here. That means opacities can be adjusted. Well, opacities can be adjusted for all layers irrespective of whether you have an alpha channel or not. But opacity of an image depends on the availability of the alpha channel. So opacity is just, if you bring down the opacity, see, you can see it becoming transparent, translucent. So if you have 73%, only 73% of blackness is revealed. So that is about opacity. It is just the amount of transparency you have. Actually, opaqueness is the exact opposite of transparency. So if it's 100% opaque, you mean that it is 0% transparent. So that is about transparency. I'll just bring it back to 100. And then you have certain things called modes. I'm not explaining about all these modes right away. I'll explain these as and when I do my tutorials. So okay, that is about layers. Then I'll explain a new concept along with layers, and there is something called as a layer mask. So you can add a feature called a layer mask to a layer. So a layer mask can be initialized with these many things. It can be white or black, or layers alpha channel itself, and certain other things. And you can even select a channel, user created channel, if you want that. These things may not be as easy to understand right away, so I'll just stick with the white thing. So I'm gonna select a white layer mask for this black image, and I'm gonna click add. So if you see at the layers tab, for this layer to which I have created the layer mask, I get an additional box over here. So in this row, I mean to say in this layer, you have the actual layer represented by this box and a layer mask represented by this box. I'll go ahead and show you the layer mask by right clicking on it and clicking on show layer mask. So this is the layer mask. As you can see, it is initialized to white. Now I'm gonna do a crazy thing with this. I'm gonna select the brush tool, select the black color, and I'm gonna write something on this. I'm gonna write P for pixels and D for distorts. So I have written Pixel Distorts over there, and when I just uncheck show layer mask, you have something like this. So what has happened? You can see that wherever I have written that wherever I have written PD, that portion of the layer is just washed away. It is made transparent. So how was that happening? So if we look into the layer mask, you have things in white and some things in black, and layer mask can have only two colors, either white or black, or a shade in between white and black like gray or other stuff. It cannot have colors within a layer mask, and that is for a good purpose. So if you can see here, if you see the layer, whatever was white in the layer mask is visible, and whatever is black in the layer mask becomes invisible. In that case, what about shades of black like gray? Let's check them out. I'll choose a gray color, can be any variant of gray. I'll just choose a random gray color, and I'm gonna select the brush tool and write something, maybe a good underline for this. Oops, sorry, I haven't selected the layer mask, so I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna select the layer mask, and by the way, to confirm that you have selected a layer, you can see this white outline outside the box. That confirms that you have selected the layer. In this case, I have selected the layer alright, but I haven't selected the layer mask. So if I click on the layer mask, it becomes selected. Right now it's green because I have shown the layer mask. If I uncheck the show layer mask, you can see it's white, so I can confirm it. I have selected the layer mask of the layer. So I'll go back to show layer mask, and I'll just draw an underline of gray for this. Now if I just go back to my image, okay, it's not readily visible. If I go back to my image, oops, sorry for that. If I move this image, you can see this, that although it's transparent, it's not fully transparent. You can see this right over here. It's fully green and it's not fully green. That is because the layer mask has a partial amount of blackness in this area. So the amount of blackness within a layer mask determines the amount of transparency you put for the image. So if it's fully black, it's fully transparent. If it's fully white, it's fully visible or opaque. And if it's a shade between black and white, the intensity of blackness within that shade represents the amount of transparency you add to the layer. So that is the basic concept of layer mask. It is just a mask you can use on a layer. So the thing about layer mask is it's editable. It's not fully a fixed thing. It's not a complete thing. You can edit this after you make changes. So if I select white again, and select the layer mask and use my paintbrush to paint this part, as you can see the blackness returns. That is because in the layer mask I'm painting it to white again, so it becomes fully visible. So that is the concept of layer mask. Okay, then you have learnt about layers, you have learnt about different things you can do with the layers. You have learnt about the opacity you can set for a layer, and you have also learnt about layer mask. So with this, I think this makes a perfect recipe for a good old tutorial which involves actual pictures and colors and everything. So I'll go ahead and close this, discard, okay, and I'm gonna open up a new image of a cat. So I'm gonna open up my cat image. I have a cat over here. I'm gonna open up that, and it's asking me to convert to RGB color space. If you are a beginner, you don't have to worry about all this stuff. It's just asking you to keep the original RGB profile, or whether it needs to convert to the GIMP sRGB profile. So it's better to convert to sRGB profile for better clarity within GIMP. So I'm going to convert this. So I have the image of a cat over here. And by the way, these profiles, these RGB profiles are nothing but color profiles. I'll explain about color profiles in future episodes. I think it's beyond the scope of this episode, so I'll just leave it for the future episodes. Okay, now what am I gonna do with this cat? I'm gonna use the concepts which I have taught you till now to change the eye color of this cat to something else. So I'll go ahead and duplicate this layer thrice. I always duplicate my layers before doing anything so that I can go back to my layer if I edit the image too much, so that I cannot get mad by original image. I'll always keep a backup copy of my image, so I'll just duplicate the layers thrice, and this will be my backup. So I'm gonna double click it and rename it to backup. This step is not needed. It's just for the sake of good karma. So I have these first two layers over here. I'm gonna select the first layer and add a layer mask to this, and I'm gonna set the layer mask to white and click on add. So I have a layer mask for that image. The next thing I'm gonna do is hide these two layers, the second and the third layers. The way to hide that is, you see an eye icon over here. Just uncheck that, and that will be hidden from the view. So if you hide this, you get the transparent thing, which means voidness or nothing. So I'm just gonna make the first layer visible, and I'm gonna click on the layer mask, and I'm gonna select a foreground color of black with any brush size. I'm gonna leave the default one of size 20 and hardness 50. I'm gonna zoom in. To zoom in, you can press Ctrl and scroll up like that. So you can use your middle mouse button to scroll up, or if that is not possible with you, can use the minus key and the plus keys of your keyboard to zoom in and zoom out. So I'll just use my control and scroll up, and I'll zoom up the eye of the cat, And what I'm gonna do is just paint around this eye with black. And by the way, I'm not painting on the actual image, I'm painting on the layer mask of the image. So I just have to click on that and make sure that the layer mask has a white outline around it, and just select the brush tool with the foreground color of black and start painting it. I'm gonna paint the eye of the cat. So here it goes. And as you can see, while I'm painting black within this part of the layer mask, the layer is becoming transparent. That portion of the layer is becoming transparent. That is because a black color within the layer mask means transparency in the layer. So I'm gonna just clear out all those portions. Gonna pause this video, and while I pause this video, and after I pause this video, I'm gonna just paint around this portion and this portion, so I'll just have transparency visible in these portions. So I'm gonna pause this video and complete that action. So as you can see, I have painted these portions of the eyes as black within the layer mask. So if I show the layer mask, this is how it looks. I have left out that portion for the eyebrow of the cat. You can see the eyebrow of the cat over there. So that is what you are supposed to do. Just paint these portions as black within the layer mask. So the next thing you're gonna do is bring this bottom layer to visibility again by clicking on the icon. It was invisible, now it's visible. Now with the second layer selected, go to color, colorize. As you can see, you can apply different colors. You just have to change the values of hue and saturation to your liking. I'm just gonna slide it slightly, and I think I'll settle with the blue, a cyanish blue color. That gonna increase the saturation a bit or decrease it, and that looks good. So I'll just click on OK. So as you can see, I have changed the eye color of the cat. So if I want to compare it with the original image, I just hide these two layers. So this is the original image and this is the final image. To do a quick compare, just shift click on the original image like this, so that hides the other layers except this layer, and to get back the other layers, do shift click again. So this is my finished image, and as you can see, I have made some errors in exactly extracting out that eye portion of the cat. So that is alright, because I have added a layer mask. It's always changeable, so I just click on the layer mask and make it white again, take the paintbrush and just paint around white over there. So that will just undo my process of errors. So if you do make errors, don't worry, if you have made a layer mask, you can always undo it later. You can just, all you need to do is take the paintbrush and just start painting with it with white. So there you go. I think I'll just leave it there. That looks good. So that is how you change the eye color of any animal, or change the color of his shirt, or things like that. So this already looks cool. I'll go ahead and make this image black and white so that only that eye will have that color. So to do that, you don't have to do anything, just click on the top layer, click on color, click on desaturate. You have three options within desaturate. The first is lightness, the second is luminosity, and third is average. And this is nothing but the amount of blackness that is extracted out of this image. So I like luminosity better, so I'll just click on luminosity and click on OK. So there you go, a nice good effect of GIMP on a photo of a cat. So that ends my second episode. Hope I made certain things clear about layers and ordering of the layers, these buttons over here, opacity, layer mask, and hope you have enjoyed this video tutorial. Until next time, bye.